So today we're going to be talking about the best matchups that can be made in every single UFC weight class. Let's start off with the heavyweight weight class. This is an obvious one. You've got Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. This fight should have already been booked. This fight should have been made months ago. I do feel more confident that we are going to see this fight now because Pereira did lose to Magomed Ankalaev, because I really do believe that if Alex Pereira had have beaten Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313, I think they would have went with Jones versus Pereira next instead of Tom Aspinall. I really do believe that, just because of the way Dana White was speaking before the Pereira fight to the way he's speaking after the Pereira fight. Before the Pereira fight, Tom Aspinall was saying there's a bit of a hold-up on Jon Jones' side. Then after Pereira loses, it seems like there's not that much of a hold-up anymore on Jon Jones' side. Also, the fact Jon Jones commented being like disappointed under a Pereira post, saying he was really looking forward to sharing the octagon with him. And I know for a fact, if Pereira had have beaten Magomed Ankalaev, he probably would have called out Jon Jones in English. That there would have went viral on social media. And the way Jon Jones and Dana White are moving recently, they're kind of like Frank Ocean and Peyton Talbot. So you know Jon Jones will get whatever he wants, because that's the kind of relationship those two guys have. But this is the fight to make. I don't know, like, barring the fact Jon Jones is ducking him, which is a fact, he is literally ducking him. It's a close fight. Like, I don't think it's as one-sided as what people make it out to be. Do I think Tom Aspinall beats him? I do, yes, but it's a really close fight. Like, I'd say it's like 60-40, and I'm in favour of Tom Aspinall because he's the natural heavyweight. He's entering his prime. He's the same size, if not bigger, than Jon Jones, and those guys tend to have a lot more success against Jon Jones. Also, just what Tom Aspinall's good at, I think, can give Jon Jones a lot of problems, especially on the feet. Jon Jones, I just don't rate his striking defense. I think he got exposed. He's been exposed before with his striking, but really exposed against Dominic Reyes, who was landing a lot of clean shots on him in there. If Tom Aspinall lands them on Jon Jones, he's out cold. That's factual information. But again, how good is Tom Aspinall's defensive wrestling? We don't know. Jon Jones is one of the best grapplers in the UFC, if we're being completely honest with each other here. It's a close fight, 60-40 either way. I would edge it, to Tom Aspinall, but that's the best fight that can be made in the UFC's heavyweight division. Moving on to the light heavyweight division, another obvious one. You've got the current champion Magomed Ankalaev run the rematch with Pereira. This is the fight that makes the most sense. Pereira was an active defending champion. He defended the belt 3 times, was very active over that last year. And that fight was extremely close. Like, that there was a 3-2 fight. I know Demetrius Johnson and some other people are saying 4-1. I personally don't see it. I had Pereira winning round 1 and round 5. 2, Ankalaev. When I went back and rewatched it again and tried not to be so biased, because when I watched it live, I scored it for Magomed Ankalaev. When I watched it after the fight, I was like, oh no, I'm going to give that to Pereira. But then when I watch it again, Magomed Ankalaev, it's 3-2 Ankalaev, really close fight. It's the fight that makes the most sense. Like, who else is going to get it? Yuri Prohaska? Doesn't make much sense. The winner of Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill? Doesn't make much sense. The winner of Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Ulberg? If Jan Blachowicz wins, then maybe, because him and Ankalaev did go to a draw, so maybe you could argue that. But Pereira's that big of a star. The fight was that close. He was a defending champion. In my mind, he has earned his immediate title rematch. I think that's a title rematch that makes sense, and it also allows the light heavyweight division to kind of move along and make the matchups required to keep like fresh, new top contenders coming in, and to just really see who the next big contenders are for Ankalaev or Pereira. Maybe they might do a trilogy, I don't know, but that is the fight to make. Moving on in the middleweight division, look, I really want to see Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP. But I don't want to make this video so blatantly obvious with matchups. This is another fight that I really, really want to see. Robert Whittaker, Caio Borralho. Look, I think I've talked about this fight like 3 times on the channel so far. This is the fight that I want to see. I know there's talks of Whittaker, maybe Sean Strickland. Again, a really fun fight. Don't get me wrong, 2 former champions. I would like to see it. But I think this is the fight to make. Robert Whittaker obviously just got his face absolutely broken too by Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 308. A lot of people seem to think Whittaker's chinny now. He's done. He's over the hill. Caio Borralho coming out of the fighting nerds. You have a lot of momentum now. A lot of people seem to think this is like the next big gym. Obviously, you've got him, Mauricio Ruffy, Gene Silva, Carlos Prates. Those are the main guys that have kind of taken over the UFC. And Caio Borralho, People were saying he needs to fight Imavov next. I think Imavov can sit out, in my opinion, and fight the winner of DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's earned that with the work that he's done, especially just knocking out Israel Adesanya. I know a lot of people want to see him versus Baralho, and don't get me wrong, if that fight's made, that's going to be a fun one, but Baralho, I don't think is at that level yet. Like, really, when you think of it, who has he beat outside of Jared Cannonier that was already beaten by Imavov in that fight before? Paul Craig? Does beating Paul Craig get you a title shot? In my opinion, no. He's an up-and-comer that needs a big name on his resume outside of Cannonier. Whittaker, I think timing might work out well. Whittaker needs that big named opponent, like a big prospect coming up to show that Whittaker still has it. He's still there. I would take Whittaker in this matchup, depending on if it's 3 rounds, I'd maybe go Baralho. 5 rounds, I'm going Robert Whittaker. But this is a matchup that I really want to see in the UFC's middleweight division. You do Strickland versus Adesanya 2, to be honest. Hams had DDP, obviously. And then you do this one. I think this is the fight that makes a lot of sense for both guys, and it's one I really want to see. Moving on to the middleweight division, we've got Kamaru Usman. Where is this guy? Anybody know? Does anybody know where Kamaru Usman is? Stop doing the Point for Point podcast. Get back in the gym, even though I know he's in the gym all the time. You see it on his social medias. Get a fight booked. We haven't seen the guy in almost 2 years now. He's not getting any younger. He's 37 years of age. He looked really good in his last fight against Khamzat Chimaev that he took on short notice. Up a weight class. Arguably should have been scored a draw, in my opinion. But we haven't seen him since. I know he has bad knees. His knees are fucked. But then just retire. Do you know what I mean? If you're that injury ridden at the minute and you don't know when you're going to make a comeback, maybe just retire. You've had a good legacy. Maybe he doesn't want to end on a 3-fight losing streak, and I get that. If he does come back, though, you make the matchup against Joaquin Buckley.
This is how legends are
that there is the matchup to make. Joaquin Buckley, I think, is the dark horse in the UFC's welterweight division, to be honest. Coming off a win over Colby Covington. Yes, Colby took that fight on short notice. Might have played out different if Colby had a full camp, but Joaquin Buckley looked really impressive in there. Also, he knocked out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the fight before that. It's just a fight to make, in my opinion. Joaquin Buckley's been calling for it. Kamaru Usman is kind of sitting on his number 3 ranking spot. If he beats Joaquin Buckley, he deserves a title shot, in my opinion. If Joaquin Buckley beats Kamaru Usman, he deserves a title shot, in my opinion. This could be a fight night main event or a 5-round co-main event on a pay-per-view. Usman is a big name, and this is just a fun fight overall. Make it happen. Moving on to the lightweight division, we have got Islam Makhachev.
brother.
This is a dream matchup for me. Just give me Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria. Please. Just make that matchup next. It is the fight that makes the most sense. Well, maybe not the most sense. In my mind, it's the fight that makes the most sense. If you're not going to give Arman Tsarukyan the next fight against Islam Makhachev, then Ilia Topuria is the next guy up, in my opinion. No Justin Gaethje. Do not make Justin Gaethje versus Islam. I don't want to see that. Gaethje is coming off a win against a short-noticed opponent in Rafael Fiziev, who's ranked number 11th in the UFC's lightweight division and was on a 2-fight losing streak going into that matchup. Doesn't make any sense. And the fight before the Fiziev fight, he was flatline KO'd by Max Holloway, a featherweight moving up. And for people who say, but Ilia doesn't have a win in the lightweight division, yo, he beat Max Holloway. Are you new here? Max Holloway is ranked number 5 in the UFC's lightweight division. Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, the 2 best guys in the sport of MMA today, in my opinion. Point for point number 1 in Islam. And I honestly have Ilia Topuria as point for point number 2. Even before Pereira lost, I have him point for point number 2. Obviously, the UFC do have John Jones, but again, John Jones, Dana White have that Frank Ocean, Peyton Talbot relationship, so that's why he gets those privileges. But this is the fight to make. Dream fight. If I can make any fight ever in the sport of MMA, it would be Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. And I think Ilia Topuria knocks out Islam Makhachev inside 3 rounds. That's my prediction, early prediction for that matchup. Moving on, featherweight division. Again, this is another obvious one. It's already been made. Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski. Look, I'm really looking forward to this one. I think a lot of people are forgetting how good Volkanovski actually is. A lot of people are saying he's washed, etc. Volkanovski's going to put on an absolute clinic in there against Diego Lopez. The guy's taking the right amount of time off. He's 36, so he is on the older side, but Volkanovski is just that good everywhere. Diego Lopez will be dangerous in the first 2 rounds. If Diego Lopez is going to win this matchup, he stops Volkanovski inside 2 rounds. If he doesn't do that, Volkanovski will either stop him early in the fight or completely style on him and win by a decision. Diego Lopez doesn't have the best gas tank either. He leaves his chin in the air. He is a good striker, he's powerful, but he isn't as polished as what Volkanovski is. Yes, he is a dangerous grappler, but Volkanovski is very compact and just knows, he's just got good grappling as well. Outside of when we've seen him be caught in those submissions by Brian Ortega, which we've seen him fight out of as well, when have you ever really seen him be completely out-grappled? I know Islam had some success, but Volkanovski had a lot of success in the grappling against against Islam Makhachev too, which is something you have to factor in. This is the matchup to make. Volk's going to bring us a y'all must have forgot performance in my opinion. Volk will become the new UFC featherweight champion. Moving on, this is another obvious one. Bantamweight division. Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. Why is this fight not being made? Sit me down and show me in picture form what other fight makes sense other than this, because it isn't Merab versus Sean O'Malley. Doesn't make any sense. So in terms of Merab versus Sean O'Malley can lose the title, not have a fight in between. Merab can fight Umar Nurmagomedov, beat him in a very competitive close fight. It was a fun fight as well. Beat him, and then it's like, Sean O'Malley, you've earned a shot at the title again. Absolute bollocks. And I understand that Sean O'Malley did have one title defense over fucking Chito Vera. Bruh. Are you going to sit here and tell me Chito Vera deserved to be fighting for the belt? No, he fucking didn't. He didn't. This is the fight to make to see who the next number one contender is. They should really be doing Merab versus Pantoja. Super fight. Makes the most sense while the flyweight division, bantamweight division sorts themselves out. And this is a big fight. This is a massive fight. This could co-main event any pay-per-view card. This is massive. Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan, two big stars. Their first fight was extremely entertaining. Really, really close. Some would argue a robbery. I do think Yan was very unfortunate in that matchup. Run it back. Run that fight back. What I think stops this fight happening is Sean O'Malley, to be honest. I think O'Malley knows how tough and dangerous Petr Yan is to him. And I don't think Sean O'Malley will fight Petr Yan. This is just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. Unless there's a title on the line. I think Sean O'Malley knows what that fight was like, how grueling and brutal it was. He doesn't want to go through it again unless there is a big prize at the end of it, which is the UFC bantamweight title. This is the fight to make though. Let's stop fucking about. And finally, in the flyweight division, Pantoja should be him versus Merab, but for the sole purpose of this video, this is the best matchup to make in every UFC weight class. We have got him versus Manel Kape. Now look, I was going to go with him versus Kai Kara-France because I do believe Kai Kara-France is the most dangerous opponent right now for Pantoja in that division. I know they fought before on The Ultimate Fighter years ago, but I think Pantoja, he's a great grappler, great striker, very well rounded, but Kai Kara-France, great striker, got really good takedown defense. Go back and watch that Askar Askarov fight. He showed some really, really good takedown defense in there against him, who was a great grappler. He's also got that one punch knockout power as well. We just seen him do that to Steve Ercik, who went to a relatively close decision. I do think Pantoja clearly won that matchup if you go back and watch it, but a relatively close decision against Pantoja, the current champion. He knocked him out in the first round. But Manel Kape, this is probably like the biggest personality this division has, especially in his last few performances. Obviously, he did eye gouge Amabayev twice, especially in the finishing sequence, but nonetheless, in his fight before that against Bruno Silva, the guy entered fucking flow state, was just styling on him in there. He's good on the mic, he creates a lot of hype, he knows how to sell a fight. And I know he lost to Pantoja before, but it was competitive enough. I think he showed really good takedown defense. Obviously, Muhammad Mokaev tried to get his ass out, so that's kind of hard to really see how good his grappling was in there. And Mokaev has like the worst form of grappling in UFC history. But showed good takedown defense, a great striker, very dangerous on the, if he's leading the dance or if he's on the back foot. I think it's a really fun fight and one I would like to see. So yeah, those are matchups that, those are the best matchups I think that can be made in every single UFC weight class. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. What matchups would you like to see? And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you again in the next one.